Hi, I'm Elizabeth. I have a question for you. Who are you? I hate that question. I hate when people ask me that question or tell me about yourself. That's also a terrible question because I don't know, how long do you have? Typically what people are looking for when they ask that question is what's your family look like? And what do you do for a living? Right? So who are you? Or tell me about yourself. Hi, I'm Elizabeth. I am a health and wellness coach, and I'm a mom of two kids. That's roughly the answer that people are typically looking for when they ask that question. But I've thought a lot about that question, who are you, over the years, because I'm complicated just like everyone else. I mean, I'm a mom and I'm a health and wellness coach and I'm passionate about climate change and I live in Ontario and I am a reader and a baker and a cook and I'm a friend and a daughter and a wife and I'm a scholar and a teacher and a learner, and there's just so many words to describe who I am. And it's hard to kind of explain that in a quick, tell me about yourself kind of question. And so that's something that I'll continue to work on. But the reason that I am bringing this up today is because I want to talk about identity and what that means for your health. Because believe it or not, how you identify drastically impacts your health, your habits, things like your sleep, your food intake, your exercise, your lifestyle, all of those things, your identity is tied into those intimately. And I want to talk about that today a little bit. So I have a program called the Sleep Solution for Busy Moms. And in that program, we use Elizabeth's 5-step habit building blueprint. This is a blueprint or a process I've created to help busy moms in particular solidify really important lifestyle habits that are going to help them get healthier. In our case, it's usually centered around sleep. And I use a technique that's very based in science and biology and the psychology of how habits are built to make sure those habits last for the long term. But a key feature of this process is identifying what habits are we going to work on? What habits do we pick? Because every person is individual. And the habits that are going to be very beneficial for one person might not really impact someone else. So maybe for you, incorporating the habit of having a glass of water first thing in the morning when you wake up is going to increase your energy, is going to get you moving, is going to increase your appetite, could do all sorts of things. Whereas for somebody else, the same habit, having a glass of water in the morning, might not be the best investment for them. And so identifying what habit in particular is appropriate for which person is a really key feature here. But how you identify is a really big driver for which habits you should be working on, which habits you select. Your identity is made up of a lot of things. So it's all the descriptors I listed above, that I like this and I do that and I enjoy that and I have these kids and I have these pets and blah, blah, blah. But it's also your values, your beliefs, your morals, the things that you believe about the world around you, about your community, about your friends, about society. Those are all a really important part of your identity. And typically when we think about identity, we think about them in statements of I am. So I am a mom. I am a health coach. I am such and such. And when we identify with these labels or words or terms, it can have a really powerful impact on our subconscious. Understanding who you are, what you identify, what you believe, what you value is a really, really key feature to making sure that you're implementing the healthiest habits possible. For example, if you identify as a night owl, trying to implement the habit of getting up at 5 o'clock every morning is probably not going to last. You might try it for a while, you might get into it a little bit, but if you're continuously saying, but I'm a night owl, making that habit part of your daily routine is just not going to be the case. It's a habit that goes against your identity. If you identify as an insomniac, so I am an insomniac, adjusting anything to improve your sleep is subconsciously unlikely to work. When we do things to challenge or change our identity, our subconscious tends to sabotage it. So if you identify as an insomniac and we do things to work on your sleep, they're probably not going to last. Those habits are not going to be lifelong because they're challenging your identity. On the flip side, if you're a morning person, You say, that is who I am. I'm a morning person. Chances are I'm never going to be able to tell you that you need to put the habit in that you should work between 10 p.m. and midnight. You'll get your best work done there. You might try it for a few days. You might be impressed for a little bit, but it's not going to stick for the long term because it is challenging your identity. It's challenging who you are. So, can you change your identity? The answer is yes and no. There are some values, beliefs, morals. There, you have some really core beliefs inside of you that are very, very difficult to change. So, if you believe that at the very most basic level, that community is the most important thing, and I'm going to give you a habit that you need to do more stuff alone, that's probably not going to be beneficial for you. And you're probably not going to be able to change that identity. You need to understand, you need to recognize that your belief that community is so important is there. If you're aware, if you realize what your values are, what your identity is, what's driving you, it is possible to kind of shift things. So changing some of our superficial identities, I'll call them, is possible. But changing our core beliefs, our core systems, takes a lot of internal work, a lot of time, and usually some outside help. What you can change is the language. So let's use the insomnia again, for example. If I say I am an insomniac and I try things that are going to improve my sleep, usually my subconscious will sabotage those. It'll say, "No, you're an insomniac. That's how you identify. That's what you are. You can't change that." If instead I use the language of sometimes I can't sleep well at night, or sometimes I don't sleep well, or sometimes I suffer from insomnia, that can change the game completely. Shifting the language around the things that you experience as opposed to the things that you are changes everything. So what are some other examples? I mean, the insomniac one is one, but what are some other ones? Well, I am lazy. That's one I hear a lot. And that is one. It's okay to say, sometimes I feel lazy. That is not an identity thing, that is a fact. But when you identify as I am lazy, anything that you do or change or try or say to go against that is going to be met with some subconscious resistance. I am worthless. You need to change that language to something like I am worthy of taking care of myself, of feeling good, of feeling amazing. I'm fat. That language can be changed to I don't always feel healthy. There are people who struggle with their weight because their weight is part of their identity. That is a really tricky subconscious thing to evaluate and understand and be clear on, but it is real. And so shifting the language around I'm fat to sometimes I don't feel healthy, or I don't always feel healthy, or I don't always feel my best can change your mindset entirely. I'm a terrible sleeper. Same thing. Sometimes I don't sleep well. So I can't cook becomes I'm not great at cooking everything, but I'd love to learn some other things. I'm not an athlete can become I don't always enjoy activity. Do you see the difference? Identifying as an am as part of your identity versus an experience puts it in an entirely different category for you subconsciously. And when we can use these words as an experience as opposed to an identity, it's a game changer. The opposite works as well. If running is something that you want to get really good at, you can start to identify as a runner. I am a runner. If time management is something you want to get good at, instead of saying, "Oh, I'm always so bad at time management," you can say, "I am an organized person." When you start to identify with those positive things you want in your life, the exact same thing happens. And that language can become part of your subconscious. So, really, the place to start is awareness, because our identity, it's not bad or good, it just is. But there are probably parts of your identity, there are parts of my identity that aren't serving you, and really understanding where they're coming from, where where we listen to them, why we listen to them, and how to rearrange them, how to change the language about how we talk to ourselves, that can make all the difference. And especially if health or sleep or feeling good or any of those things is something that you struggle with or you're working through, trying to figure out what your identity around these things is. I am a healthy person. Instead of I feel sick, or instead of I am sick all the time, I am a healthy person can be a drastic mindset change. So picking habits that are part of your identity are key to making sure that those habits are going to stick. So you need to identify what are the parts of your identity that you can use in this way. I am a morning person can become a habit of I can get up at 6 o'clock in the morning every day. I am a runner can become a habit of going for a 15-minute run a few times a week. We tend to believe the words we tell ourselves subconsciously, whether they're good or bad. So make sure that you recognize really how you identify. How do you kind of tie healthy habits, healthy goals into that identity? And what are the negative identities that are embedded for you right now? And how can we shift the language around that? Because it sounds so silly, it's, saying things instead of I am an insomniac, I am someone who doesn't sleep well. I can tell you with certainty that that subconscious language is exceptionally powerful. So pick some habits that match your identity or change the language around them. Let me know if you need any support. This is what I love to do. And my 5-step habit building blueprint is a really, really powerful tool for doing just that. Please let me know if you have any questions. Happy to answer anything. And I hope you have a great day.